Lucas Oil Speedway tonight. This is the GRC configuration. That's why you see dirt through the pits. But welcome, everyone, to a bit of a PSI TV fun night. And tonight I'm joined by Brendan Elshoff, who is helping me call a bit of a quick GRC race. We may do some later on after this one as well, something else. Scott Speed is in attendance in this race, actually, and he just went right to pole. As currently we are on him. It looks like he's going to go back to the pits. We're on him. We're going to see if he goes back out there and see if we can spectate anymore. Looks like he's going to call it quits. But Scott Speed, GRC driver, that really helped iRacing develop this GRC side. Brennan, he's in this race, so it's kind of cool to just randomly pick a race, and he's in here.
Yeah, definitely. It's not something you expect when you just pick a random official race to go ahead and call.
And now, if you don't really know what's going on, basically, Brendan and I decided to pick a random race tonight and go ahead and commentate it, just basically to make sure we're on top of ourselves. We've got some new stuff coming up with some various leagues, various organizations to call some more races throughout 2018. And you can leave comments down in the chat if you want to see another race after this. You can let us know what you want to do. We've been looking at some dirt oval stuff for the rest of the night, possibly tomorrow as well. And tomorrow you can catch us live again, tomorrow night, at about this same time with the iRacing Weekend Warriors trucks from Kentucky. And that'll be a very fun race, the Bluegrass 115. Very cool race to cover. But tonight, we've still got a bit of a GRC race on hand. So if you don't know how this works, basically, these guys are in the brand new GRC Beetles, the Red Bull GRC Beetles. And we'll hit auto apply there. As well as the Ford Fiestas. You can see Scott Speed and his Beetle right there. And, you know, they've got these special configurations on a few different ovals across the iRacing simulator. And, I mean, it's Rallycross. I don't know what else to say about it, really. There are heats. There's a consolation race or a last chance qualifiers. You may know it. And then a feature event. And so they whittle each field down to 10 drivers. They start out with 14, cut 4 throughout the heat races. They take 4 from each heat and then 2 more from the consolation. So, Brennan, do you think we'll see Scott Speed in the final?
Oh, I'd have to say though, so a professional driver like him, as long as he doesn't get caught up in any of the usual iRacing antics, especially in these GRC races, it seems like there's a lot of people who don't quite think before what they do in these. Obviously, with the dirt, you slide around a lot more. It's harder to brake and all that, but he keeps it clean. I'm sure we'll see him in the final for sure.
Yeah, I actually saw a video from Scott Speed on his Facebook page yesterday, I believe it was. He took a video of one of these races that he was doing here on iRacing with some fans and some iRacers, and he was pretty impressed by some of the guys out there. And obviously there's guys to not be so impressed by, but this should be a pretty fun race no matter what. Just wanted to come out here and do something fun tonight. And, yeah, I mean, I guess we're waiting on the heat to start, waiting on qualifying to roll over. Brendan, do you know how long it's going to be until that happens?
Oh, yeah, 20 seconds. Just hit the 20-second mark.
All right, so, do you want to mention there is still an ongoing, I guess, giveaway on the PSI TV page. If you head over to the PSI TV page on Facebook, facebook.com/pitstoptv, you can enter in our giveaway, our first giveaway for hitting 1,000 likes. We're giving away some gear from RTK Motorsports, as well as a hero card from David Levine Racing, and some digital wallpapers for your smartphone, your computer, however you watch these races on PSI TV, based on your favorite NASCAR driver, and that'll be done by TN Designs. So some pretty cool stuff there. It's free stuff. Even if it seems kind of random, it's free stuff. Who doesn't love free stuff, right?
Yeah. Getting ready to roll into Heat 1 here.
So we'll look for one of the drivers in this first heat. Who would be a driver to find here?
Got Speed, Cindris Stas, Sergio Acero, John Lepresto, Tom Sadler, Don Hall, and Bradley McCurl are Heat 1 racers.
try and switch to one of these guys. It's not actually letting me switch over to them. Weirdly enough, but we'll try and get this sorted out. Let's see.
Scott has not taken the track yet, but the other guys are here.
So who's on the track? You said a Tom Sadler, right?
He's on the
Alrighty.
track. Yep.
So, first heat field is going to roll away momentarily. We'll find a camera for this.
I wonder if Scott's gonna try and maybe race his way through the consolation.
It's a risky way to do it, but considering it's Scott Speed, he could probably pull it off. So, let's see. Do we have a grid for this as
Oh,
well?
there he is. Nice.
So we'll roll through the grid, let you guys see who's in this.
Get ready to go green, actually.
Green, green, green.
And they're off the way.
That's the first one.
It was way high, so I wasn't even talking to you guys. Okay, we'll call another lap. So, basically, got these really tight sets of corners. You come back onto the wide oval, turns 3 and 4 of the oval, the last couple of corners of the GRC course. You're going to come onto the straightaway here, now that you can actually hear my voice instead of the engine. And you go through oval turn 1, then you're going to have this sharp left-hander down into the infield. You're going to have another sharp left-hander about 90 degrees as well. And then the opposite, a right-hander, sharp right-hander. And this is really tricky, Brendan. You and I both know coming onto the dirt at such a sharp angle is really hard to do without killing that wall. You get that jump, you come through the wide dirt corner, and eventually you'll come back out onto the oval through this hairpin. And I'll tell you what, it's a really tricky place to run, but it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, definitely. You want to carry so much momentum on the dirt, but you have to realize that you have to slow it down. That's your quicker in these cars when you're going slower than you think is normal per se. Especially on that right-hander there, right before the jump, you'll hit that outside wall every time if you try and dive it in there with way too much speed.
Yeah, you really have to be mindful of exactly how much throttle you're putting into the car, especially on those dirt corners, because if you give it just a little too much, you can easily just end up sliding and sliding and sliding. You'll never get grip, and you can easily end up off in a wall, or you can also, just going through the dirt, not even get any grip in the right direction. Sometimes the car sets the wrong way, and it even happens on pavement. If the car sets the wrong way, you can suddenly end up on the left side of a right-hand turn, and it's just never going to go well unless you get the front wheels pointed. But
Yeah.
you see Scott Speed pretty much walking away with this heat, but you see that number 1, Set Sauce? We'll say that's how you say that name. Trying to get up to him. I don't think he's going to have what it takes to get up to Scott Speed, though.
Yeah. Obviously, professional driver, like we said before, it's he's really your pace setter here. He's telling you what it's like out there on the real track and how fast he can go. So even for him to be able to stay within a couple second margin of him, that's still really impressive.
Yeah, I mean, when you have Scott Speed out there making videos for iRacing, explaining how he helped iRacing perfect this course, obviously he's going to be the one to beat. He will take Heat 1. We'll pull up the results here. Looks like Scott Speed, again, going to take Heat 1. Sindre Setsas. He's from Scandinavia, so he's got a bit of an interesting name for us Americans. Then John Lopresto will take the third place in that heat and the third transfer spot out of that heat, followed by John Hall, who will take the fourth transfer spot out of that heat. Now, everyone else, the other three that were on track, Sergio Acero, Tom Sadler, and Bradley McCarroll, they'll all have to go to the consolation race, Brendan, and they'll have to try and fight their way into the main that way. But the top four there, the 3, the 1, the 6, and the 12, will all advance automatically.
Yeah. And then out of that consolation race, depending on how many extra drivers we have, either take 2 or they'll take 4. So it can be pretty tight racing in that consolation race as well.
And I believe out of the consolation, it's only they only take 2. Could be wrong.
Yeah, if the larger fields they take 4 if you have a lot of drivers in your split. But...
That's interesting. Didn't know that. But
Green, green, green.
Jackson out there asking if this is a league. This is not. And actually, we just missed the start of Heat 1. Sorry about that. I was caught up with the results. Try and get a camera. So they're going to fan out, come to the start-finish line, and officially begin. And we just switched to the wrong drivers. Very tricky trying to find the right drivers for this heat. So apologies for being a bit unprepared for this. We're still working on it. It's good to get this out of the way now. A 3-wide battle.
No. Yeah, you get one car that's just a little bit sideways compared to you on the jump, and you'll end up making contact in the middle of the air, and it won't end up well for either one of you. You're actually going to beat and bang there going into the hairpin.
Yeah, they'd almost
keeping
made
it
it
together.
through entirely cleanly. They almost push each other up into the wall. They'll get through it for now, though. That was a lot of really tight racing, and props to those guys for not wrecking it and really causing something big there.
Definitely doing a good job up front. I know my history with these races, we probably would have wrecked by now, but they're doing a good job at it.
Yeah, and I'm trying to get the names of these guys. I honestly can't see the numbers. We're spectating the number 2 here, which is going to be
Fabrice Cornelius, I believe.
There we go. So we got Garrett Lowe out there, followed by the 7. That's going to be McCall Blazek, followed by the number 2, and that one will be 2 of Fabrice Cornelius. So interesting names. This is a very popular series worldwide. So there will be some names that we just aren't used to seeing, and it's going to be harder for. That was a move right there. That was a great move by the number 2 car to get that second spot from the number 7 of Blazek. And yeah, I think Blazek just kind of pushed wide, taking the Joker. The 2 was able to just get the better line through that first tight left-hander, and just one heck of a move. I don't even know what to call it.
Yeah, that's a gutsy move. Obviously, they're fighting for second and third there. The top 4 are going to transition, so usually when I do them, I like to play it a little bit safer if I know I'm in a transfer spot. Usually I won't race a guy until the end of the race, but it was a good move for him for sure.
Garrett Lowe currently walking away with this heat. I believe it's only 5 laps in the first heat. So it's been, actually, that number 2 car is trying to catch up to him. But Garrett Lowe, I believe, is one of the more popular, one of the better guys over on the oval side as well. So it's nice to see him trying his hand at GRC into the rallycross. And he's doing pretty well. Going to walk away with this heat as long as he manages these last couple of laps. Gets up on 2 wheels, almost gets a little too high up, almost flips it over there through the hairpin. He's going to continue on. Still has the lead into the white flag.
Yeah, definitely. If we actually look back to that 4th transfer spot here, we actually have a little bit of a battle between the number 9 and the number 13. I think that's where to look at the end of the race here.
Yeah, we'll watch these 2 Ford Fiestas battle it out for this final transfer spot. This is actually he clips his high barriers, almost goes over that number 13 car of Fenalosa, and that was very close to disaster for it looks like Daniel Fenalosa. That's an interesting name as well. And he is chasing down the 9 of Levi Poland, who's going to likely walk away with that spot. We'll pull up the top 5 for you. So you can see Garrett Lowe has walked away with that heat, followed by the number 2 car of Cornelius, the number 7 of Blazek. Levi Poland going to take that final transfer spot as we watch him drift through turns 1 and 2. And Fenalosa will take the first or actually the second starting spot for the consolation race. Real quick look at the results. Garrett Lowe going to take the heat. Fabrice Cornelis in second. Michael Blazek, I think, in third. Levi Poland in fourth. Those will be your transfer cars into the feature. Daniel Fenalosa, Soda Muto, Sam Cork, and everyone else that didn't make it in through Heat 1 will have to go to the consolation race. So we will pull up the number 13 car on our camera and get ready for the next heat. Or the consolation, rather.
Green, green, green.
And green flag on the consolation already. And you might know this across the U.S. as a last chance qualifier. Also called the consolation race. These guys will take the green flag, fan out as they come across the start-finish line this time. We already got the leader taking the Joker lap. I'm not sure about the number. That's number 10, actually. We'll get the name on him. That's going to be Sergio Acero. And he's already going to start walking away with his lead. These guys are already single file, and 3 of the same paint schemes out front, but they're pretty good paint schemes. I think they're default ones, actually. But number 8, Tom Sadler, currently on the bubble, trying to beat out that number 13 car of Daniel Felanosa. Yeah, Fenalosa. Sorry, getting used to random names. Yeah, these guys can be the battle for the consolation, or the final consolation transfer spot right here. And they're going to have to use that Joker lap. You see the 8's going to take it right there. Tom Sadler's going to take that Joker lap. It's basically just a different part of the course that each driver has to take once throughout a GRC heat, consolation race, or feature event. And he took it right there and actually slowed him down. Now, at a lot of tracks like Phoenix and Daytona, it can actually speed you up, but here it slows you down just a tiny bit, and that's why you saw the 8 car lose that spot, even though he was taking what looked like maybe a shorter way through turns 1 and 2, and that's not the case.
Yeah, and actually at Iowa, I'd like to mention that you skip almost a quarter of the racing surface there that you're going to run through. So Iowa, you make up the most time.
Now we're going to get to see Tom Sadler try and chase that 13 down, and you know, he looked pretty good out of the gate, but now he's starting to maybe slow up a little bit, trying to chase that. Actually, contact up in the front. The leader took out the tire barriers. That's going to give Tom Sadler the spot, I think. And that will. Fenalosa is going to fall into third, and now he's got the 4th place car. I'm not sure about the number there. The 4th place car of Muto on him. And you see Tom Sadler pulling the e-brake a little bit into that corner, trying to get the car to pitch around. And Muto is right there. He might have something for these guys.
Yeah, our leader, Sergei Acero, is just walking away with it, though, so it looks like it'll be just a battle for that transfer spot.
Yeah, we're going to keep our eyes on this battle here for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. I think Sergio Acero has affirmed himself as possibly the winner of this consolation race, as long as he doesn't make any more mistakes like we saw last lap, where he got into one of those tire barriers, flipped it right in front of 2nd and 3rd, and that's what gave Tom Sadler this spot. But, you know, it's going to work out for Tom Sadler, obviously. You know, I don't think these guys here have any more Joker laps to take, so it's just straight up racing from here on out, straight up heads up to try and get that final spot in the feature event.
And they cross the line this time. They'll have 2 laps to go here to who's going to be our runner-up for the consolation race.
So we'll show you a lap here aboard the number 8 of Tom Sadler. This is from his visor cam, and I mean, this is really tight stuff. This is not easy at all. You and I both have run a lot of these races already, even though Global Rallycross has only been out for a few weeks. But you and I have run a lot of these races together, and I mean, this is not easy. It's a totally different discipline of racing than what you normally find on iRacing, and really only a few things apply from both normal pavement racing, be it road or oval, and dirt oval. So it's really just its own kind of racing. You have to really learn what you're doing before you can go out there and really look around these tracks. But once you get it down, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, like you said, you want to, on the dirt portions, you want to try and take your knowledge from dirt oval racing, but then you have to realize that these cars are all-wheel drive, so they don't really kick the rear end out as much like you think. And you want to take knowledge from possibly like road, but then the suspension's so soft on these that they don't really handle like any road car really. So, like you said, there's just, it's like a completely new learning process, like you said.
And Sergi Acero is going to walk away with this consolation win. It doesn't look like the number 5 of Muto is going to get there. He got very close. He was able to get into 3rd place, but so is Muto, going to fall short in his Volkswagen Beetle, as Tom Sadler will walk away with the 2nd transfer position into the feature event here tonight. And for those of you guys wondering out in the chat, this is an official race on iRacing. There's hourly official races in the D-Class Global Rallycross Series, and that's as high as Global Rallycross goes for now. So you're watching these guys battle for safety rating and I rating. This is an official race. It's not a league race or anything like that. So various guys from all over the place, and it is the actual Scott Speed. I saw Chris Matthews out in the chat. This is the actual Scott Speed we're looking at here. Well, Brennan, I'm going to make my pick first because I don't want you to steal him. Scott Speed, I think, is going to walk away with this one. Let's be real. He helped develop this track for iRacing, and you know, he's a real GRC driver. Also, I mean, you got to look at that number 1 car. He was very fast in that first heat, as well as Garrett Lowe.
Yeah, definitely. My pick actually is gonna be Fabrice. I think he ran pretty well as well. I'd pick him as a leader or a winner at the end of this if Scott doesn't grab it.
Yeah, I think you have to pick Scott Speed as kind of the favorite to walk away with this one. But, you know, Garrett Lowe, I know he's fast and oval, and actually these guys just went green. So we'll watch them pull away through oval turns 3 and 4. They'll fan out 3 wide is how they start. Oh, and there's one going around to the back. But Scott Speed going to walk away so far. Well, actually not walk away, but he's still in this lead battle with the number 1 and the number 4 of Garrett Lowe. And he's actually going to get passed up by Setsas, but he's going to go for the spot down low into turn 1. And contact made, but they're going to get through it just fine. Now Scott Speed's going to set this number 1 car up.
Oh, we have a big pileup right after the right-hander there. Like 3 or 4 cars involved in that one.
But up front, Scott Speed still trying to chase this number 1 car down. And that number 1 car, I'm not sure how to say his name, quite honestly. It's an interesting one. Sinjay Setsas, I think is how you're supposed to say that. And he's out of Scandinavia, like we mentioned. And he's going to take his Joker lap now, and Scott Speed going to do the same. And
a lot of ground in the break point there.
Yeah, they made up ground initially, but then Garrett Lowe was able to close back in, considering he didn't have to run quite as slowly into that corner. But Garrett Lowe trying to chase down the Scott Speed, and Scott Speed trying to chase down Sinjay Setsas. And who is that in 4th? That's actually your pick, Cornelis.
Lowe's going to try and make the move on the inside here. Actually going to make a little bit of contact with Scott Speed.
Yeah, Garrett Lowe went for that move through oval 3 and 4, and it's really hard to do to pass through there. It's very flat. You know, Lucas Oil is a very flat track to begin with, but to try and pass on the oval part where, you know, you're set up to go left and right, your car isn't exactly set up to do that kind of thing unless you make it that way, but it starts out set up for left and rights. It's going to be very hard to make any passes on the actual oval portion unless you outbrake somebody off in a turn 1 here. So that was a very ballsy move from Garrett Lowe, but he's going to now try and set the number 3 car up again if he can get back to him. Currently though, Sinjay Setsas is going to walk away and now battle for 3rd place. Garrett Lowe almost got bested by the number 2 there, but he kind of forced the number 2 into a really bad predicament. I don't know if you saw that, Brendan, but Garrett Lowe not going to get the tire barriers, but Garrett Lowe took the wide entry into turn number 2, the really tight left-hander, the first one to get into the infield, and the number 2 tried to take the bait and go for that move, and then, you know, Lowe just straightened it out, shot through there, and actually now the number 2 is going to get him back.
They both
and just shoved it off into the corner, and they make contact, and that's really going to hurt the both of them. Cars going by now. Garrett Lowe is actually going to hang on to 3rd place, but the guys behind him are going to, let's see, that's going to be Cornelis that really falls back a bunch. I think he's going to lose some spots, and he is. We'll see where he falls back to. He's going to fall all the way back to, it looks like, 7th spot. He was battling for 3rd, and he just made a really aggressive move, maybe payback to Garrett Lowe for cutting him off, and they ended up pretty much wrecked.
Yeah,
Back up to the front, though, Scott Speed still trying to see what he can do with that number 1 car. He's still trailing him, albeit by a little bit more now. And he's kind of fallen back. I mean, we didn't really see this kind of thing. If I remember correctly, it was Scott Speed who won the first heat, right? So
Yeah.
this is interesting to see this number 1 car just walk away from him almost.
Yeah, I've been watching Scott Speed. That hairpin as we rejoined back onto the asphalt track. He's struggling a lot there. That's where Sestos is making a lot of his time. You see through the dirt corners here, Scott's really making up a lot of ground as we get coming around here towards where we rejoin to the asphalt. And we'll see Sestos. That's where he'll take off again.
So Scott Speed still working on that number 1 car. You see him lose a bunch of time there. Now, part of that is just because they're getting back up to speed. So they go from a really low speed, where a tenth of a second might only be 10 feet, to a very fast portion of the track where a tenth of a second might be 100 feet. So some of that's the speed, but also I really do think you're right there. I think Scott Speed's just not fast enough through that final hairpin to get back onto the oval. Scott Speed still trying to make up time, and I hate to talk about one guy so much, but it was really fun to try and watch this guy try and pick up on some of what he's doing here. And you have the real driver, Scott Speed, out here. It's cool to watch him try and battle with these iRacing guys, and a Scandinavian, just basic iRacer going to end up taking this win as long as he hangs on for 4 more laps. But with the oncoming Scott Speed, that's going to be hard. It's got to be intimidating. I don't know if I was out there in that number 1 spot, I would be pretty nervous right about now if I hadn't already made a mistake at this point.
Yeah, definitely. Sometimes you just gotta forget about that rear view mirror you have. Just drive the car. You can't think about what's behind you.
And you see the number 3 tag the wall. He's going for the move this time off into the hairpin. He doesn't quite complete the move. He got there for a half a second and lost time again exiting the hairpin. And now you see the number 1 gapping him just by a bit. And I gotta say, as we come to 2 laps to go and these guys go into the final sets of corners just about, iRacing get a really good job with this, I think. You can see the dirt kind of get shot away from where it starts out. Basically, you can see the dirt move from just being flat all the way across to the cars. You can see the pit line,
stalls there,
the yellow pit line. You can start to see the pit stalls through there where the pit road would normally be on this oval. iRacing did such a great job with this. You can see where Scott Speed has used the windshield wipers to clean off the windshield, and then you can see the rim of dirt along there where it hasn't been cleaned by the windshield wipers. You can see the dirt accumulate on these cars. It's such a great job by iRacing. Really got to give them a tip of the hat. And now Scott Speed trying to do battle here with the number 1 car. I don't think he's going to have enough to do it. I keep forgetting his first name. Sindre Setsas has done a great job of just outrunning this 3 car. Hasn't really taken off. Hasn't really gapped him or checked out or anything. And Scott Speed's going to have one final chance, Brennan. Do you think he can do it?
I don't know. He's going to try and make the move. He's doing a good job not making any contact, though.
Contact was made, and Scott Speed pulling a nose ahead of this number 1 car. Will he have it to the line? No. Sindre bumps him down the door and just pulls away for the win there. That was a heck of a move by both of those drivers to make that battle interesting.
You want a good finish, you got one right there, though.
That's about as good of a finish as you're going to see on GRC on iRacing, at least in official racing, because a lot of these guys are way too aggressive, but you saw a heck of a battle there. I'm very surprised by how clean that was. Not necessarily by Scott Speed, but you saw Setsas just barely give him a tap down the straightaway, and that slowed the 3 car down just enough. You see the number 3 get to the inside of the 1 there, and he has the better line through this part, and then the momentum kicks in on that top side. You see them make a little contact, and that's when Setsas pulls back away, and that's one heck of a battle. It doesn't get much better than that.
Yeah, I don't it may be something with the results page, I don't know, but it actually has Scott Speed scored as your winner. I don't know if maybe Sestos got a jump start penalty possibly, or
there may have been a penalty. We'll watch from the onboard of number 3 of Scott Speed here. You see they barely make contact there, and he's trying to pull Setsas, and you're going to see Setsas bring it back down, kind of touch him just a little bit. They may not have actually made contact. That was just such a great move to get the lead back from Scott Speed there by that number 1. That really does just, that's, wow. That surprises me a bunch. That's a lot of clean racing right there to finish it off. We'll watch another time. Scott Speed trying to make up the ground on number 1. You see him go in deep, barely getting to the left side of Setsas, and going to try and pull him here. You see Scott Speed started to get a line on him. He pushed up. Yeah, they made contact, just a little bit of contact, and that's when the number 1 was able to pull away and take the victory in this random official race. We did go to the top split. That's why we found Scott Speed. But man, that was a heck of a race. Now you're saying you see Scott Speed atop the list. I'm seeing Sindre Setsas, but this is unofficial before any penalties, so that could be part of the issue there. But it's going to be Sindre Setsas. We saw him take the win. There may have been a penalty that, just sets him back a spot or so.
I do have it corrected. Yeah, it is Scott Speed in second, Sindre with the win here.
All right, so Sindre Setsas, I believe out of Scandinavia, going to take that win over Scott Speed by almost nothing. Less than a tenth of a second. That was a great move there in those last couple of corners by both drivers to try and best each other, and in the end, it's going to be Setsas holding Scott Speed off. So that's got to feel pretty good for him. Won't get to talk to any of these guys, unfortunately. But as we look through the rest of the results here, it's going to be Garrett Lowe in the third place, Mikhail Blazek, I think, in fourth, Levi Poland in fifth, Fabrice Cornelis in sixth, Tom Sadler in seventh, John Lopresto in eighth, Sergio Acero in ninth, and John Hall in the 10th spot. Then we'll see Sotomuto, Sam Cork, Daniel Fenalosa, and Bradley McCarroll. Those guys were eliminated through the heats, the heat races, and the consolation race. That's where they were actually all eliminated from the race. So those guys didn't even make it into the feature. It's just part of heat racing. You only take the best, I suppose. And so GRC racing on iRacing basically takes the top 10 drivers as they whittle it down through a couple of heats and the consolation race. And that's how you got that 10-car field for the feature there. And again, Sindre Setsas going to best Scott Speed there for the win. And this was the 9 p.m. Eastern session on December 29th. So if anyone was wondering exactly when this was, there you have it. And this was the GRC official series, the D-Class official series on iRacing from Lucas Oil Speedway. Raceway, rather. Lucas Oil Raceway. It says it right there. And Brennan, I got to thank you for doing this with me. It was a lot of fun to call a GRC race for once.
Yeah, definitely. Something new, obviously. A lot of fun.
Yeah, it's really hard to keep up with. You gotta admit that, but it was a lot of fun to be able to call that race, and hopefully we get to do more of these. I think we'll do a couple of more tomorrow, maybe one or two, and I think that might be it for us for the night, though. But keep an eye out on the Facebook page for PSI TV. That's facebook.com/pitstoptv for more news about broadcast. And you can catch us back here tomorrow night about the same time at the same place with the iRacing Weekend Warriors Bluegrass 115. That will be the iRacing NASCAR trucks at Kentucky Speedway. Should be a lot of fun. I'll have Brennan on hand and possibly another commentator or two, but at least Brennan, I believe. So that should be a lot of fun tomorrow night. And if you aren't able to catch us then, you can catch us next week with the K-Vegas Snowball Derby and, Larson Remodeling Snowflake 100. You can still enter those events. Go to the K-Vegas Snowball Derby page, and there will be an official press release about that tomorrow on our Facebook page. But thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Brendan, thank you for calling this race for me. It was a lot of fun, and hopefully we're back tomorrow. And real quick, I want to thank, don't mind the notification there, I want to thank our sponsors real quick. We've got a whole bunch of them, got a plethora of sponsors and supporters that make PSI TV basically flow. Scott Burlington Images, Oliver Mobile Fleet Repair, TN Designs, Pit Stop Insider, let's see, I'm trying to think, the GoPro Motorplex, David Levine Racing, Race Agent, Monkey Motorsports, Colby Eye Paints, BA Graphics. There's just so many to call out, as well as, you know, the leagues that we broadcast. Also our Sim Racing, NMNTS Racing Series, Dirt Racing Challenge Series, and the iRacing Weekend Warriors Series as well. Of course, Loose Lug Nuts we had the Christmas special for last week. Just everyone that pours all of your support into PSI TV. Got to thank you real quick. And that's going to be it tonight for PSI TV. This was a bit of a GRC fun run from Lucas Oil, so thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time.